Welcome to the Late Night Show. Hope everything is okay. Hope everything is all right. I'm your host, Andrew Dick. Okay, kids, what's happening on the lovely island of St. Martin? Carnival 2023 is in full swing. The St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation put out a statement and also the calendar for the 2023 season. 21 days of fetting. Yes, 21 days of fetting. And people are excited because they say this is the first carnival that doesn't have any type of restrictions. You know, you don't have to worry about COVID tests, don't have to worry about masks. So, yeah, it's looking good for next April. Now, of course, without carnival, there cannot and should not have bacchanal. But they have bacchanal all the time. During this week, meeting of Parliament, Member of Parliament Christophe Emmanuel, better known as Savage Chris, decided to ask the government some questions concerning Carnival because there's a lot that has been happening. MP Brison recently, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago, said, will there be a Carnival 2023? Because he's hearing that, you know, stakeholders are not in confidence with the SCDF hosting Carnival 2023. Now, in case you forget, the reason for that is many payments were not made to vendors for Carnival for the 2022 season. You had the security company that ended up walking out prior to the closing of Carnival, so we didn't have no security guards. If people only knew at that time. Ooh. Plus, they had other situations where persons had to get paid, they didn't get paid, they vexed, prize money had to be given to Queen Show contestants and Calypso Show winners and all of the hooplas. I think the Prime Minister need to trademark that hoopla. You know, it's hoopla this, hoopla that. Anyway, so Bacchanal, Carnival goes together. And MP Christophe Emmanuel didn't go too shy. He went in and asking the government questions concerning Carnival 2023. And of course, the relationship with SCDF and the good people of the government.
SCDF not fully cooperated fully with SOB. How did 2 years of not having any Carnival festivities affect SCDF financially? How did canceling Carnival in March 2020 and again for 2021 due to the pandemic affect the SCDF and the hosting of Carnival 2022 financially and operationally? Mr. Chairman, if the government, businesses, and other entities can get reprieves after the pandemic, I would like to know, why is it that SCDF being treated differently, especially since it indicated publicly that it has a plan for moving forward? Why are you treating Carnival different to anyone else or anything else? For some reason, the picture is being painted like they were supposed to come out of the pandemic rich. For me, more like a stepchild. Mr. Chairman, in the middle of Carnival 2022, several ministers went into press briefing and announced that Carnival would go on bid. Does the government of St. Martin understand what this did to the SCDF and its operations in the middle of an ongoing festival? It was the minister to answer the question. Did he ask SCDF during this investigation or his investigation? Has the government, since the close of Carnival 2022, asked SCDF how and what was affected? Because the minister announcing a bid, yes. What were the answers? And if no, why not, since you care so much? Mr. Chairman, the minister said that he was using a third party to investigate SCDF. Who is a third party? Did the third party ever contact SCDF to ask any questions or seek clarification? The minister said he had findings and would present these findings to Parliament prior to calling this information. Findings. Did the minister meet with SCDF? Mr. Chairman, the very recent meeting with the minister had with SCDF about this issue, who requested it? Was it the government or the SCDF? And did this come after the SCDF complained again that it has not been granted an audience with the government or before. Mr. Chairman, the SCDF has a reputation of coming to Parliament for everything. They are also shown how many times they have requested meetings with government. Why didn't the minister or the government simply meet with the SCDF and ask all the questions it has? This was done for the pandemic protocols. Why not for this issue? Mr. Chairman, earlier this year we saw that the government signed yet another MOU with the regatta. In discussions with the Tourist Bureau, the SCDS have submitted a draft MOU in 2015 to structure the working relationship with government. This MOU is being discussed in 2017 prior to Hurricane Irma, or has been discussed, or was being discussed prior to Hurricane Irma. Mr. Chairman, did the SCDF resubmit this draft MOU to government? If yes, have the discussions between SCDF and government taken place about the MOU, and what were the conclusions? Mr. Chairman, is the government willing to come to an amicable agreement with the SCDF on the ongoing organization of Carnival moving forward? In terms of including stakeholders in Carnival, in the organization of Carnival, has the SCDF ever outsourced some of its shows to third parties? If yes, when and to whom? What was the end result of the SCDF giving other people chances to run major parts of Carnival? Mr. Chairman, in the past 30 years, plus years, the SCDF has been organizing Carnival, and has any government at any time threatened to remove or sideline them? Also, has this government, since its inception, ever threatened to do the same other than mentioning a bid? Mr. Chairman, the SCDF recently submitted what it calls a better use of subsidy funds for Carnival. Have you had the opportunity to discuss these plans with the SCDF? If yes, what was the outcome? And if no, will the SCDF be granted a courtesy of serious discussions with the government on these plans, especially since the Prime Minister told the public she is looking forward to amicable discussions with SCDF? Mr. Chairman, the government can say that the amendment initiative came from Parliament, but my question is, does the government itself agree with the amendment, or is the government willing to continue working with SCDF through an MOU or sorts, just like it does, or just like it did with the regatta? Why them and not our people? Mr. Chairman, but this is the part that I want to get to the people of St. Martin. Mr. Chairman, I think it is very disappointing that the SCDF has been balling for years for more funding, and now that one MP who used to work for the SCDF and no longer has that hefty contract comes up with a sneaky way to divert more money into the new budget post and leave the SCDF out in the cold to suffer the consequences. Mr. Chairman, the SCDF has been begging for help. The former marketing director was in this parliament begging for help for Carnival. All of a sudden, they are no good. The government may not own Carnival, but when they speak, it creates the impression with the public that government has a say. And this creates a negative impression with SCDF sponsors and creditors, who have shown exactly what they are prepared to do this past Carnival. Are we really looking to put families in the poorhouse simply because we refuse to have a discussion with volunteers who have poured their hearts and soul into developing Carnival? If not right, it's not right.
Of course, MP Brison had to respond because, yes, MP Brison was part of the SCDF back in the day. He was the marketing director of Carnival. And then he went on to become a politician. I don't know what's the difference. Carnival director, marketing director, politician, pretty much the same thing. Bunch of bacchanal either way. But he did answer MP Christophe Emmanuel, and he did make some valid points. Reason why is because I think SCDF forgets that Carnival is about the people and not necessarily them who organizes the festival. They're the group that organizes it, but doesn't mean that it's all about their feelings, if you understand what I mean. Particularly if you are going to boldly owe the people for years, not give prizes as you promise, and then when people call you out on it, send them a letter and say, hush your mouth, you don't know what you're talking about. Typical dictators at the SCDF. But anyway, MP Brison set them straight. Take a look.
I'm going to go straight into this issue of Carnival, because I know many of us noted the cease and desist email that the Carnival Foundation sent to me and all kind of MPs, because I'm doing my job. Unlike some of the ones that they support that ain't doing nothing to help the situation. I ain't bringing no proposal, ain't bringing no amendment, nothing. But I asked the question, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the government, is Carnival at risk and I'm fear-mongering? It ain't me that says so. It is our constituents, our stakeholders, our Calypsonians, our queens, all of those. They are Carnival. The SCDF is not Carnival. They are an organizer of Carnival. They do it at the pleasure of them. And if they are coming to all of us in here and saying, what is going on, I supposed to stay silent? When the committee got a report, a whole business plan saying, listen, don't do more than one promoter night because you're going to find yourself in financial problems and you're taking away opportunities from local promoters. But then you take the promoter nights, they all flop, you put yourself in a financial hole and government got to bail you out of it? Or the creditors need to bail you out of it and say, no, we can't pay you yet because we went doing show year after year after year, flop after flop after flop, that professionals have been doing and has since left? What happened to Soca Rumble? Why did Soca Rumble leave? Why did Latin Night leave? I was there too. And one of the questions all the promoters had, how is it possible I do this hard work to put a great show like Soca Rumble together, to put a flag fest together, to do all these shows together, and they got 5,000 people in the village and I only sell 2,000 tickets? How is that possible? An honest and fair question from promoters that to this day can't be answered. Then you have a minister from the United Democrats said, enough is enough, not from the UP, from the United Democrats said, enough is enough, we're going to audit this thing. The results show that there's a problem, and Rolando Brison is wrong for saying, guys, we need to look into what's going on here. Government, go and communicate. I did also tell the government, in fairness to SCDF, that if you're not communicating, then you are wrong. And the government, as was stated earlier by MP Emmanuel, I said that there was a meeting. I would like to know, Minister, what was the outcome of that meeting? What tangible discussions came out of that? And how are we securing the Carnival of St. Martin 2023? That has to be the focus. Mr. Chairman, there was a question about bids. It's a very simple thing. The accountability ordinance deals with that, and I would like the minister to maybe explain what the accountability ordinance says about a marketing contract going on bid. Subsidies don't go on bid, but marketing contracts do. It's very simple. And the amendment actually brings more money, could have brought, if the SCDF just did what they had to do, could have applied for this, get an increase in marketing funds, and as I advised them, then you put in a subsidy at the Ministry of Culture to subsidize your operations. That's how it's supposed to be. And then you could have gotten something from culture in addition to a marketing contract. But you want me to guarantee it to you? Nah, man. The SCDF has brought this upon themselves, and the fact that they're still trying to blame everybody except themselves and want to pretend that it's about the volunteers. Who? The volunteers that you just unceremoniously, after 20 years of service, send them a letter, say, hey, by the way, thanks, but no thanks, we don't need you no more. Those are volunteers I supposed to think that you care for? A public embarrassment of this sharing on Facebook. How many volunteers have been there for decades just get wiped off the face and say thanks, but no thanks? Much time, Mr. Chairman? Much time? What was my start time? 12, thank you. Anyway, Mr. Chairman, I look forward to those answers and just a simple thing. What is the plans to make sure that Carnival 2023 happens? And indeed, I do agree, if there was some sort of investigation, some bullet points were written about SMDF, whatever more details we can get from that would be great.
So MP Brison, make sure set them straight, I must say, yeah. Again, it's all about Carnival and not necessarily the organization. So at the end of the day, people only care that Carnival happens. That's it. That's okay. Nothing else. Also, in other news, the teachers of the St. Martin Academy academic section, they did action, an industrial sit-in, sit-out while walking, but they had a sit-in. I don't understand the terms. But anyway, the union, the Windward Island Teachers Union, decided to have a discussion with its members because they were vexed that the vacation allowance wasn't paid and it was taking so long. So, yesterday, they gathered outside of the school, close to the school, because they can't do it by the school itself. So they walked and did it campaign style right on the side of the road in St. Peter's. And they had the discussion there. And of course, the school outsmarted the union because they decided to call a general membership meeting with all its staff for 9 o'clock. So they had to hurry up and do it quick, before they get fired. Or at least get a warning letter. In any case, the president of the Windward Island Teachers Union, Stuart Johnson, spoke to TV15 News about the situation. Also, the shop steward, Travis McQuilkin, also spoke. So you get an idea of what the grievances were or are.
Our main concern is just to get our vacation pay, that full 6%. It's been long overdue since June, and the communication has not been consistent, it has not been clear. So at the end of the moment, at this moment in time, that's all we want, is just a 6%, a date when everything is going to be paid, and that's it. I'm just going to keep it clear and short. That's what the entire staff is looking for, nothing else. Because at the end of the day, we can't keep going back and forth, changing conditions, adding conditions, and no one is agreeing to none of those terms. All we want is our vacation pay that we worked for from since last year. This is not for this year, this is from what we worked for from last year. That's it.
We've seen in particular a difference in the messaging coming from the Council of Ministers at the beginning of this entire vacation allowance saga. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Education had one direction, and that was basically in reference to the cuts across the board, the 12.5% in reference to the subsidy ordinance that is provided to school boards, and now in the latest set of developments, the recent weeks and months, we've seen the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Public Works now have a different message. They're going to individual school boards and having a different message to them and handling the matter completely different. What does that messaging look like? The Y2 sent out a communication to the Prime Minister asking for clarity on it because it seems to be tailor-made to each school board. So we want full clarity on the matter, and the public at large deserves full clarity on the matter. In addition to that, this particular school board, the Favi School Board, have informed their members that they want to pay it over 2 or 3 different installments. And one of the conditions being 30 vacation days that they would have to lose. 30 vacation days equates to 1 month. What will that look like? Will it be in reference to taxation? What will it look like in terms of the school schedule as in itself? Will they deviate from the school schedule and in what form? So that is several variables that as a Y2 we must sit at the table. I've instructed and sent a communication to the Favi School Board that our members called us out this morning to make sure that we meet, to make sure that we discuss this, and they want us at the table with the school board to discuss all of their concerns. As you see, there is a large crowd of teachers and other members of staff from both campuses, and so as there's strength in numbers, the message this morning is quite loud and clear. We have reached now a point where the vacation allowance must be paid. It must be paid in its entirety, and I expect to sit at the table with the Favi School Board on behalf of the members that have given me that resolution to do so.
Okay, so give you an update now of what happened. So they had a meeting, the school board met with the union, and they decided that they are going to pay out the vacation allowance and make it work by next week, Wednesday. All teachers from the academy academic section should be getting their vacation allowance so that the situation is done with. We like to thank the government for, oh no, the government didn't do anything. It was actually the union and the school board. So we can't fix problems without the government involvement. Yeah, we can. Anyway, so that's good for the teachers. Congratulations to all teachers. Of course, there are some subsidized schools that did not pay the fee the vacation allowance as yet to the teachers, but you had the NEPA that did it already. Now you have this school board. So let's hope that the other school boards follow suit before we get more sit-ins or walkouts or standing on the cross, the road ends, whatever that is. Welcome to the Late Night Show. We have a good one for you. Let's begin.